How does a woman lose a fiancé, a high-powered career, and her home, in the span of 24 hours? It sounds like a nightmare, right? For me, it was a Tuesday. I was erased. Deleted like a line in a legal brief nobody wanted to read. I sat on the cold granite steps of a courthouse in the rain, with less than $200 to my name, watching the life I built crumble into dust. But here's the thing about hitting rock bottom. It gives you a hell of a solid foundation to build a war room. And the people who broke me, they had no idea I was coming back for them. If you've ever been underestimated, cast aside, or treated like you didn't matter, this story is for you. We are about to serve some ice-cold justice to the kind of people who think money buys immunity. If you're ready to see the good guys win, hit that like button right now. It helps the channel, tons, and subscribe so you never miss a story. Now, let's watch an empire fall. It all unraveled the night I chose the best table in the room. A corner booth draped in white linen, orchids nodding in a crystal vase, while the rain outside traced frantic paths down the glass. I was waiting for Daniel. I was usually the punctual one, the lawyer, the planner. Daniel arrived at exactly 8:07. He looked different. Not anxious, but relieved. Like he'd finally exhaled after holding his breath for months. He sat down, but not close enough. His eyes didn't quite meet mine. "I can't do this," he said. My stomach turned to ice. I remembered the way his voice sounded, quiet, precise, like he'd rehearsed every word in front of a mirror. I forced my voice steady, my hands trembling under the tablecloth. "What do you mean? Is this about the wedding planner? The deposit?" He didn't answer. Instead, he reached into his suit jacket and pulled out a small velvet box, placing it between us. He wasn't giving me a gift. He was taking one back. "I can't marry you, Natalie," he said. 7 words. That's all it took to dismantle 3 years of my life. It cut deeper than any cross-examination I'd ever delivered in court. "It's not you," he said, leaning back as if unburdened. "It's just, we're moving in different directions. I've met someone else." My heart slammed against my ribs. Vanessa Hamilton wasn't just someone. She was the daughter of Douglas Hamilton, the district attorney. A man who practically held half the city in his pocket. A man whose political favor could make or break legal careers. "You're leaving me for her," I whispered. "This is better for both of us," he insisted, cold and clinical. "I have to think about my future." He didn't even flinch. I stared at him, stunned into silence, trying to grasp how the man I was supposed to marry in 13 days could erase me like a typo. And then, the final twist of the knife. "The ring," he said, nodding at the box. "It's a family heirloom. My mother would be devastated if it left the family." My fingers went numb. I stripped the ring off my shaking hand, placed it gently on the table, and whispered, "Thank you for your honesty." I walked out past the waiters, past the gossip, into the pouring rain. I was shattered. But the universe wasn't done with me yet. Somewhere between 3rd and Lexington, my phone lit up with a news alert. Headline: D.A. Hamilton backs merger between office and city task force. Vanessa Hamilton engaged to corporate counsel Daniel Hayes. My chest felt like someone had tied steel bands around it and started cranking. They had been planning this. By noon the next day, the managing partner of my law firm called me in. The conversation took 4 minutes. "We're under political pressure, Natalie," he said, smoothing his tie, refusing to look me in the eye. "Hamilton's office is threatening to scrutinize our pending cases, and that has to do with me." How he just slid a folder across the table. Termination, paperwork. Severance, a politely worded letter. By sunset, my office was empty. The walls looked naked without my degrees. I carried my box of things down the courthouse steps and realized the terrifying truth. I had nowhere to go. My apartment, Daniel's name. I'd moved in with him 2 years ago. Every dollar I had was tied up in non-refundable wedding deposits. I sat on those cold granite steps, rain soaking my hair, watching people pass by under umbrellas like tiny collisions. I was 31 years old, homeless, jobless, heartbroken. I whispered to no one, I have nothing left. But deep down, a spark flared. Because as long as I had breath in my lungs, I still had the law. And one day, I'd make them remember exactly who Natalie Hart was. I went to the only place that felt safe. Mrs. Garcia's bakery. The smell of warm sugar and cardamom hit me before the bell even jingled. When Mrs. Garcia saw me wet, shivering, broken, she dropped her piping bag. Natalie, sweetheart, she gasped. 10 minutes later, I was on her velvet sofa, drinking jasmine tea. Mrs. Garcia didn't ask questions. She just said, "You're staying here. This house has room, and you don't have to prove a thing to anyone." I stayed in her guest room, staring at the ceiling, replaying Daniel's coldness. Had he ever loved me? Or was I just a placeholder, until a woman with the last name Hamilton came along? A few days later, Mrs. Garcia poured us both some plum wine and slid a card across the table. "I know someone," she said, lowering her voice. "Julian Cross." I blinked. "The Julian Cross, real estate, tech, shipping. He's looking for legal counsel. Personal, confidential. Pays triple the normal rates. But," she looked over her glasses, "he scares most people off in a week." "You're stubborn, Natalie. That might work in your favor. Triple the salary. Enough to buy my own apartment. Enough to fight back." I called the number at midnight. A cool voice told me to be there at 9 a.m. sharp. The next morning, I stood in the lobby of the Cross building. Retina scanners. Glass barriers. The elevator ride to the penthouse took forever, my reflection multiplying in the mirrored walls. When the doors opened, it was like stepping into another dimension. Polished black stone, sculptures of twisted metal, and floor-to-ceiling glass revealing the jagged skyline. "Mr. Cross," the butler announced. "This is Natalie Hart." He was waiting by the window. He sat in a sleek, motorized wheelchair. When he turned, I forgot how to breathe. I expected an old man. Julian Cross was in his mid-30s, lean, with dark hair and eyes like polished steel. He looked at me like he was appraising a piece of furniture. "You're younger than I expected," he said. "How long do you think you'll last?" "A week. What's the bet this time?" I sat on the edge of a leather chair. "I'm not here to place bets. I'm here to do my job." He studied me. "I heard you lost your position this week. Because you were inconvenient." My jaw tightened. "That's one way to put it." "Good," he said. "I need someone who doesn't scare easy. The retainer is $30,000 up front. You answer to me, and me alone. No leaks, no lies." I looked him in the eye. "I won't lie for you. Not in court, not to the feds. But I will fight for you." For a split second, he almost smiled. "Welcome aboard, Ms. Hart." And just like that, the axis of my life tilted again. By day 3, I was buried in paperwork. But then, I heard a voice. A smooth, confident voice coming from the living room. "Julian, you look like hell." It was Leonard Stokes, Julian's CFO. A man with a platinum watch and a fake smile. He was nursing a drink at 10 a.m. "Hamilton's ready to push through the acquisition," Leonard said, his voice dropping. "We just need the asset transfer agreement. The board will rubber stamp it. After that, Hamilton Capital absorbs everything." I froze behind the door. Hamilton. I've prepped the docs, Leonard pressed. Just sign it, boss. If we wait, the window closes. Julian stared out the window, jaw locked. He was being pressured. I slipped away, my mind racing. I pulled the files. I traced the shell companies, Nevada, the Cayman Islands, and there it was, a direct line connecting Leonard Stokes to a holding company owned by none other than Douglas Hamilton. My ex's new father-in-law was trying to steal my boss's company while he was recovering from his accident. And knowing Douglas, Vanessa and Daniel were probably popping champagne over it. I marched into Julian's study and slammed a folder on his desk. Your CFO is selling you out, I said. These signatures aren't yours, and this shell company. It connects back to Hamilton Holdings. Julian looked at me, eyes sharp as broken glass. You know them. My ex-fiancé left me for Vanessa Hamilton, I said. He wheeled back. So, you think my CFO and your ex's new family are running a play together? I don't think, I said. I know. They're counting on you being weak. They think you'll just roll over because you're in that chair. You can't let them win. He stared at me for a long time. The air in the room was heavy. What do you propose? We catch them, I said. The shareholders' meeting is in 2 weeks. We let them think they've won. And then we burn the whole stage down. For the next 2 weeks, we were a team. We worked until 2 a.m. every night, building a trap. But I discovered something else, too. One night, past midnight, I passed the private gym. The door was cracked. Inside, Julian was out of his chair. He was gripping parallel bars, sweat pouring down his face, his legs shaking violently as he forced one foot in front of the other. He saw me and roared, "Get out!" He lost his grip. I lunged, catching him around the waist before he hit the floor. We stood there, breathing hard. Why is this a secret? I asked softly. Because if they see progress, they expect miracles, he hissed. But I have to stand at that meeting, Natalie. I won't let Hamilton look down on me. Then let me help you, I said. And I did. Every night, we practiced. And somewhere between the sweat and the pain, I realized I wasn't just fighting for a paycheck anymore. I was fighting for him. The morning of the shareholders' meeting, the sunlight hit the glass towers like blades. We arrived early. The boardroom was packed. Leonard Stokes was at the head of the table, laughing, and sitting across from him, Douglas Hamilton. Beside him was Vanessa, looking like an ice sculpture, and Daniel. Daniel looked small, diminished, like a borrowed suit that didn't fit. When the doors opened, the room went silent. Julian Cross didn't roll in. He walked in. He gripped his cane, his knuckles white, but he was standing. Leonard's jaw dropped. Daniel looked like he'd seen a ghost. "Good morning," Julian said, his voice filling the room. "This meeting is now under my authority." "Julian," Leonard stammered. "Maybe you should sit." "I'll stand." Julian cut him off. He dropped a thick binder on the glass table. Thud. "We're going to start with this." I stood behind him as he flipped the pages. Shell companies, forged signatures, unauthorized transfers to Hamilton-connected funds. Vanessa shifted in her seat. Douglas Hamilton's eyes narrowed into slits. "This is insane." Leonard tried to laugh it off. "Save it," Julian snapped. "Your personal emails are in there too, Leonard. Including the ones discussing your payout from Hamilton's team." Julian slammed his cane down. "The board is calling for a vote of no confidence, effective immediately." The vote was unanimous. Leonard was out. Douglas Hamilton stood up, his face red. "You have no idea who you're fighting, Julian." "Oh, I do," Julian said softly. "A man who hides behind his daughter's connections and tries to steal what he did, build." Vanessa scoffed, pointing a manicured finger at me. And what is she? Your new nurse? Julian turned and looked at me. She's my attorney. And she's the reason I'm standing here. I stepped forward. I looked straight at Douglas Hamilton, the DA, who scared half the city. Mr. Cross has authorized immediate legal action against Hamilton Holdings for corporate espionage and fraud. We're also filing a formal request for a federal investigation into the abuse of the district attorney's office. The room gasped. A federal investigation that ends careers, that sends people to prison. Daniel looked at me, pleading with his eyes. I looked right through him. Security, Julian said. Escort them out. As they were marched out of the building, humiliated, stripped of their power, Julian turned to me. He was exhausted, sagging against the table, but he was smiling. "Thank you," he whispered, "for believing in me." "Now," I said, my voice steady. "Let's rebuild your empire." Weeks passed. The Hamiltons were buried in legal battles. Daniel texted me once 2 pathetic lines, asking if I was okay. I deleted it without replying. I didn't need his apology. I had already taken his dignity. I stayed with Julian. We weren't just boss and employee anymore. One night, looking out at the city we'd conquered, he handed me a small velvet box. Not a diamond, a simple band of platinum with a sapphire. "I'm not asking for marriage," he said softly. "I know we're still healing, but will you walk this road with me? Not because I need saving, but because, with you, I remember who I am." I looked at the ring, then at the man who fought his way back from the brink, just like I did. I realized that losing Daniel wasn't the end of my story. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. It cleared the way for a life and a love that I actually deserved. "I'm not promising anything," I smiled, taking his hand. "But I'm definitely not saying no. And that is how you turn tragedy into triumph." Natalie didn't just survive, she leveled up. What do you think? Did Daniel and the Hamiltons get what they deserved? Or should she have gone even harder? Let me know in the comments below. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button. It really helps the algorithm find more justice lovers like us. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories of sweet, sweet revenge. Until next time.